What's up, Staten Island? What's up, world? What's up, America? Usually you go America first, then world. Whatever. Top of Owner Tough Media. That's Chris Reyes over there from Team USA Baseball, of course, also Tough Media and many other entities and businesses that he runs. Chris, and first and foremost, how are you, my friend?
All is well, Todd. We had a really good week in Staten Island baseball, New York City baseball. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of good playoff runs that are about to happen in Staten Island and New York City baseball. But all is well, Todd.
Good, buddy. Yeah, and we're getting down to it now, right? We're in May, so we know we're starting to think about playoff baseball. I know the rankings came out. I shared those with you. I know you saw them, Chris, for the Catholic school. Looks like St. Joseph by the Sea up on top right now. Farrell number two. Is that what I saw, Chris?
Nope. So we
Peters,
have
I think.
C is one, Iona
She's one.
two, Mall
Uh,
Catholic coming in at three in the city, which is pretty impressive. I've been saying that for a while now. Then you have St. Peter's, Eagles, and then you have Farrell.
All right. All right. So well represented from the Staten Island schools, kind of as you kind of expect. But hey, they lived up to our expectations, right, Chris?
They most
Which is a
definitely
great
did, Todd.
yeah,
They most
which
definitely
is a
did.
great sign for sure, Chris. We wanted to also just recognize College of Staten Island. Congratulations to our good friend Coach Mike Morrow and his squad for making it to the playoffs. I believe in just their third year, is it, Chris? Division two, um, and actually getting to the playoffs. And although bounced out of that first round, still a major accomplishment for them. In addition, some accolades, Chris. Mike Morrow, Coach of the Year. Chris Polamini, um, Player of the Year. I know Jack Kehoe, the Kehoe brothers were up there for one was Rookie of the Year, another one was Pitcher of the Year. Is that right, Chris?
That's correct. Yep. Jack Kehoe, Rookie of the Year, second team all conference. His brother, right-handed pitcher, Ryan Kehoe, first team all conference. So a lot of accolades over at CSI. Also have AJ Vigliotti from St. Joseph by the Sea, first team all conference. I mean, the list goes on and on. So they did unfortunately get knocked out prematurely in the ECC conference, but man, did they make a statement this year.
Yeah, and super proud of them, super happy for them. I loved, I think in one of the articles I read on SI Live was the bulletin board material that they had prior to the season, the previews, not our preview, Chris. We didn't put them at the bottom, but it looked as though they did like a point ranking system for preseason and they had them at the bottom. And I believe Coach Moore was quoted and some of the players were quoted as saying, we use this as bulletin board material and that kind of inspired us and encouraged us like, hey, hang on a second, we're a good squad here, and they proved that, Chris. So again, to the whole squad, coaches, players, management, everyone that takes care of the team on the ground and whatnot, congratulations to all of them. But yeah, Chris, so not just our high school but also CSI did well. I know there was someone else you wanted to touch on, Chris, who had a pretty good week or two.
Yeah, 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 Todd. I always like to give some accolades and some props to some of the younger guys. We had our USA Baseball 11U tournament this weekend at Great Hills, another Staten Island site. Um, and man, I gotta say, not only just New York City and Staten Island, but even New Jersey has some really good players that I want to shout out. First off, I want to shout out, and you're gonna know this name very well from the MLB Network, is Todd Frazier. His name is Blake. Blake Frazier is a left-handed hitter from New Jersey, from the
Oh wow.
Southsiders. Man, does that Frazier family have a lot of talent. He's just the next up-and-coming kid. Just fast, athletic, just a good overall kid. All the Fraziers are good people. Um, just fun to watch, Todd, if that makes sense. Another kid that I wanted to
Yeah.
to shout out is a kid from Team Machina, which is Alejandro Rodriguez. He's a catcher pitcher. You're gonna hear that name, Todd. You're gonna hear that name. He's only 11U right now, but you're gonna hear that name, man. He runs, he hits, he throws hard, he swings fast. And at that age, if you can do those things, you typically stand out. And then the last one is from ZT Northeast, um, Brennan Tapia. He's a little left-handed hitter, shortstop. Reminds me a lot of Vanderbilt commit Aiden Ruiz at his age. A lot at that age around USA Baseball, and he's now the Stony Brook Brooklyn product. Very comparable in terms of skill level and tools. But man, did we have a ton of fun last weekend at that USA tournament? It was a ton of talent on one field.
That's great, Chris, and that's a good point to bring up the youth that we're trying to both inspire, encourage, and inform, and share great information from those that we interview here on the podcast. Right, Chris, is these great all-around players that you always note each week. You're not just good on the field, but off the field. They're great families, good people. They do well in the community, good at school, well rounded. And so it's great that we honor those kids that are watching who are doing some work and putting the time and getting some numbers. So that looked like a lot of fun, Chris. I'm glad you had a good time and good turnout, a lot of good talent. So that was really cool. But all right, Chris. Anything else I missed for the week that was? Any other? I highlighted the PSAL rankings that came out. PSAL wise, do you have a
Yep.
handle on what the rankings are at all? Did those come out? I didn't see that, Chris. Did you?
It didn't come out yet, Todd. I spoke to Grippo
Okay.
today. I also spoke to Jerry Sidman from Staten Island Tech. I believe it's coming out Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. But again, Staten Island teams will be at the top. You can almost guarantee that. If not one, it's two. If not two, it's three. So it's right in that range. And like we've been saying since day one on the podcast, Todd, from show number one, is from the College of Staten Island all the way to PSAL all the way to CHSAA. Staten Island baseball is doing well.
Yeah.
The one person I do want to point out is more Catholic having a run here, and we call that early in the season. I'm really happy for Coach Gerard and his little run that he's putting together. I hope it pans out, and I hope they do well in the playoffs.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean it is something that you did speak about again in our previews. We had we were high on them, and it's great to see that they're performing and going to be making a late run, which is fantastic. All right, Chris. I think we've covered CSI. We've covered our PSAL, CHSAA. We've covered our youth, which is very important. I'm so glad you brought that up, Chris. I think it's time we bring in our special guest. What do you think? And here he is, the man of the hour. Chris, why don't you do the introductions? Who we got with us today?
Yes, sir. I have fellow catcher Dylan Colantone from Farrell High School. Been out to see the Lions a lot this year. I want to say, more than a handful of times. And, Dylan has done a phenomenal job behind the plate. Really being that leader that Coach Mulligan needs. So, Dylan, welcome to the show, my friend.
What's going on? Thank you guys for having me. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing well, Dylan. We appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations on the player of the week nod here. And yeah, thanks for chatting with us for a little bit and for your patience, my pal. Hey, let's go through it with it a little bit. If you could classify this season for your Farrell Lions, what would you say is going well, and what is going well for the team, and what's going well for you this year? You change anything up, do anything differently? I always like to find out, get a scope of the general feel for the team, and then get into the weeds a little bit more on you and what you've been focusing on.
I would say for the team, the pitching this year has been electric. Having Joe Ramondo on the mound, it feels like we have three aces. Anyone on any given day can give you six quality innings and just shut the other team down. Uh, for me, so it makes the offense's job a lot easier. Not really having to slug out games. Having a good pitching staff really helps. But for me personally, just having more confidence at the dish. I know I'm a good hitter. You know, and then being able to drive the ball and help my teammates, help the team win.
That's great,
And
Dylan.
hitting
No, go ahead,
again.
Todd. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. But I just wanted to piggyback at hitting wise. I always like to talk about approach. Having that confidence. Did you work on anything in particular? And I'm stealing Chris's thunder a little bit here. If we're talking to kids, where did you get that confidence from? You're saying when you get up to the dish, you're a lot more confident. Well, but what does that come from? Did you change something in your stance? Are you going with up there with a better game plan versus each pitcher? You're thinking about counts and pitches. Walk us through your approach getting up to the plate.
Yeah, I would say my confidence stems from just working really hard over the off season and just, having putting faith in the work that I've put in and just getting up to the plate, just knowing I'm better than the other pitcher, better than the guy who's throwing because having that extra confidence really helps. And just having a game plan with, like talking to the leadoff hitters because what they're seeing in warm-ups, what the whole team's seeing, being more studious about the game and like what the other pitcher's throwing and how he's throwing it. Just little tips and tricks. Anything to really just get that advantage, and then just executing on all fronts.
Are you jumping on first pitch strikes, or are you trying to wait for your pitch? You're trying to work the count a little bit.
Uh, I'm more comfortable hitting later in the counts, but if it's a first pitch dead red fastball, I'm swinging.
All right, Chris. I know I interrupted you before. Why don't you had a question for Dylan? You want to go through some of his routine and whatnot. Go ahead, Chris.
Absolutely, Dylan. Being a fellow catcher and training really good catchers at the youth level, I would love to hear a little bit of, between the ears talk for the young kids that that are looking up to the foul varsity catcher. What are some of the talks that you may have with Ramunda or Holzer or some of these guys that is keeping this dynamic together as a team, right, as a battery? If you can talk to the younger Dylan in Little League, right, what would be some advice to him?
I would definitely say, asking the pitcher like what they're feeling that day and like, what they're most comfortable with. Working with Ramunda is really, really easy because he could throw whatever pitch he wants and whatever count he wants. He's a really special pitcher. He's gonna do great things. That's for all our pitchers, really. Like today, for example, Angelo Trusso threw a great game. He was having confidence in all his pitches, first pitch curveball, first pitch fastball. So just having the confidence in them, like me talking to them, like how good their stuff is and just giving them the confidence, really helps me because if they're around the zone, I know I could steal a strike or just keep them in a flow and in a rhythm. So keeping pitchers in rhythm is very important. If pitchers like to work quick, I like to keep them working quick and just pounding the strike zone.
That's great advice, man. It's a very mature answer of you, Dylan, and I know it's not easy to do that, if that makes sense. And if you're a young catcher listening, Dylan is obviously that kid you want to listen to. And Dylan, you may not realize this, but when kids are younger, they look up to that high school varsity catcher, the kid that's committed, and obviously you're that. So awesome job, dude. It's fun to watch
Yeah.
you play, and Coach Mulligan definitely has a leader on his hands. So keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And obviously, Dylan, you're the captain on the field. How do you manage and obviously the coach is always there to help you, but you're managing your entire team in addition to your pitcher and his pitches and seeing what is and isn't working that day. Talk a little bit about the overall approach at the catcher position and being the team leader out there and kind of honchoing, especially with runners on base and all the plays that you guys have in your back pockets and whatnot. And talk us through that a little bit and the defensive captainship that you kind of a catcher always has.
Yeah, this year I would say it actually probably changed because we have a very young team. Our middle infield are both sophomores. Our center fielder is a freshman.
Oh, wow.
Our first baseman on any given day is probably a junior if I'm not playing first with Ramunda. Our pitcher's probably a junior or senior. So yeah, on top of that, I gotta make sure the game's not going too fast for them. So if, we make a few errors in inning, I gotta call the infield in, and tell them slow it down. It's the same game we've played for 10 plus years, and we're a good team, and we just got to make the next play. So it's very, I guess, more looking out for them than really looking out for myself. I got to
I,
keep them
I,
together.
I'm remembering now in the preview, Chris, we did talk about the youth of Farrell, but how coach is such a winner and coach is going to figure it out. And someone like you, Dylan, was going to be a leader on this squad. So, I mean, that's got to be promising, though. I mean, you're heading off to where are you heading off to for school, my friend?
Penn State Hazleton.
Penn State Hazleton.
Yes,
Congratulations,
sir.
by the way. Of
Thank you,
course, I
sir.
mean that's got to be excited about that. But Yeah, I mean, how cool is it to know that this team doing so well now, by the way, has so much more to go, right? So tell us, what do you think about this club next season, in 2 years and 3 years? What do you see for this team and how and their maturity process already?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the guys playing up this year, it's definitely gonna help them because they're just going to be seeing probably the same stuff next year. It's gonna be used to them, and they can lead the guys who are coming up from JV. Our JV squad's having a great year. They're, I believe, like second in the league, but they're having a very good year. But next year, the team's definitely gonna be very good. Another year, middle infielders will now be juniors, having already experienced the game, moving up the lineup. Guys who have been there before. It definitely helps with experience being there, being in the same
Sure.
position. Like what happened last year, and it gives you an edge. You know, uh, you know, if we go out this year, unfortunately, not winning a championship, it's going to be in the back of their minds.
Right.
Just grinding and trying to
Yeah, and
work
that
for that city
and
championship.
Dylan, that's that Farrell winning culture that we were talking about in the preview. And I know you may not have known Coach Mulligan 20 years ago, 25 years ago when me and Todd were in high school, but he instills that in you guys over the years, and you're just seeing it play out now. But it is that Farrell winning culture that's always in that race at the end of the season. That's why I never count out Farrell. You guys could be playing terrible in the beginning of the season. For some reason, Coach Mulligan turns the heat up in the playoffs, and you guys are right in the race every year. So I think that might be this year, dude. And best of luck, obviously, as you guys run with this.
You. Yeah, definitely. Coach has been calling up some. Yeah, he called up a good play today to just help steal a run. But yeah, definitely in the fall there were definitely some growing pains. I will say. Not a lot of it. We
Uh,
really have not played together, but we definitely gelled together over the winter and in our off-season workouts, and then it's definitely all coming together now. You know, coming into the playoffs.
That's great, man.
and speaking of those playoffs, Chris rattled off some rankings prior to you coming on the screen, my friend. How do you feel about those rankings? And are we going to exceed expectations here in the playoffs? And does this Foul Line team have what it takes to go all the way?
Yeah, I will say, with the rankings, being fourth out of the island, but being the fifth overall seed, we've played Iona, we played C, played Peters, play more, beat more, and we beat those teams. Well, we did not. Sorry, we beat more. We did not beat Peters. We lost in an extra innings, heartbreaker, and then C just
Yeah,
beat us on senior night. But definitely any all the island teams are rivals. We definitely have the
of course.
pitching to go far. You know three
Yeah, I would
aces
agree,
really.
Dylan. You guys are right there, man. You catch a hot streak, you might see Farrell in the city championship, Todd. And
Yeah.
I also predicted that if we go back a few shows. So, Dill, I'm on your side, brother. I got you, kid.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely have the pitching, and if we get the time hitting, gonna be all right.
And, and that's exactly what Chris was saying. Is it's going to come down to, you had the pitching, you had a couple senior leaders there. It's just going to come down to those execution of hitting when you need it most and getting those
Yeah,
runs and protecting your pitches a little bit. And that's what Chris had said in the previews. And I think we'll do a little playback right now of that when we when this actually gets edited together. But all right, bud. Dylan, that's a lot about you and Farrell and the team and the the here and now. A little bit more about you, my friend. I love asking this. Your favorite baseball team in the major leagues right now, and your favorite player that you might maybe inspired you at the catcher position from a catching standpoint, and if it's a hitter as well. If it's the same, then so be it. But what team you like and what player you like, pal?
I like the New York Yankees. Always a good team, but just never good enough, unfortunately. You know,
Yeah,
I've never
yeah.
seen them win a World Series. It's unfortunate, but I will say for a player back when he was playing, it was Buster Posey, but now it's for catching,
Oh,
and then now it's Adley Rutschman. I like
Nice.
Buster Posey because his defense was just insane to me, and I pride myself on my defense and being a defensive catcher and offensively, Rutschman's very good, and the game's coming around Adley Rutschman now. As he's a
yes.
new face of the MLB.
God,
Very nice.
I love that answer. I love that answer. That is a Chris and I generation player in Buster Posey who, oh gosh, we can have an argument. He's a first, maybe second ballot Hall of Famer. He was that good. He could hit the ball. He was, I can say, or I think God, Chris, do you put him in the top 10 all time?
I mean, statistically, obviously, there was a time where stats wasn't
You
around
know,
from metric
yeah,
standpoint, but
Yeah.
man, he's right at the top for me. That's for sure.
What a well-rounded guy, Dylan. I really applaud that. And then Adley, oh God, that's another good one. I had the pleasure of meeting him at some MLB Network event. What a guy, too. What a nice guy. Hey, he's the one, Baltimore? No,
yes.
Hmm.
As a
yeah,
New York
Baltimore.
Yankees fan, that kills me.
I know, but Baltimore's never going to win anything. But I
No.
digress.
Oh
Um,
man.
But I remember Adley's the one who the video went viral of him coming on the field for the very first time, and he kind of looked around the entire field and soaked it in, and just
Yep.
looked around at him. Right? Am I right with that?
Yes, yes.
I
I've seen that
mean,
video a lot of times.
and if I hope what we maybe we'll grab it, we'll play it here so people can see it. But boy, I just want to tell you, and Dill, this is for you too, man. This is for anyone watching that's playing ball. Don't forget to take in these moments. As former players who, God, I wish I could go back to. I won the city championship at Keyspan Park. It was Keyspan Park in Brooklyn. Chris won it at Shea Stadium. Right, Chris? Right, Chris? You won it at Shea Stadium, not Yankee, right?
Yeah, we were at Shea. Yep. The year
Yeah.
before
So
was at Yankee State, the old Yankee Stadium the year prior, which was pretty cool.
that's right. That's right. So I say that because what Adley did there to soak it all in, and to Dilla to say, I say to you, with these waning days of the season going into postseason for you, and God willing, as Chris predicts, a city championship, soak it in, bud. And to everyone watching, soak it in. Remember to enjoy the game itself, being in the show in your own way, and being with your friends, man. Because some of these friends, you'll have forever. So that's just a little piece of. You mentioned Ali Ruttman again, just a great guy and just a good ball player who I'll never forget that video of him just soaking it all in. So, great names you throw out there, Dylan. I love that.
Thank you.
Dill, I got a question for you, bud. You seem to be a very mature kid, and I know your pops, and I remember you playing when you were a kid. You work with Tom Gregorio, who's a good friend of mine. Um, what keeps you humble, and what also keeps you driven? Todd, I want to start adding that question for the
Okay.
boys.
Yeah.
So what keeps you humble? What keeps you driven? And what forces you to be a competitor in your life? It can be anything.
I would say, well, I'll start with the competitor question. I have an older brother. He played college baseball, and he was always grinding, and I don't know, just watching him made me competitive. I always wanted to be better than him. I always, wanted to, whether it was anything, erase the kitchen. I don't know, but just
Hmm.
always having that competitive nature. Whether it was because I would always play with him and just want to beat him, basketball, anything. So just having him really helped. But I would say my dad probably keeps me humble because, like, when we're talking about a game, like, I had a great week 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, going 9 for 16. That was last week. This is a new
Yep.
week. The new next at bat, next thing, because it helps you with the mistakes part of baseball. If you made an error last play, so what? Next play. But if you got a hit last at bat, next at bat, everything changes. So I would say,
That's great wisdom,
being
man.
yeah, I would say with the driven part, probably. Yeah, I would say probably just always wanting to get hits and just improve because you're never going to be perfect in baseball, unfortunately. So always just striving for that perfection. That's just how I am in my life. Always striving for that
Love it.
perfection, that perfect swing, just working. You know, I know it's never going to happen, unfortunately, but you could work towards it, and it just incrementally get you better.
That's
Great
great, man.
answer. I mean,
That's fun to hear a young man just give those mature answers, and we know it's not easy to do this. I remember being your age and being on these type of shows and stuff like that, and I would be stuttering. I wouldn't know what to say. I would get nervous. My
yeah.
palms would be sweaty, right? So Dylan, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah, that's really great insight, Dylan, right there, to what's driving you and keeping you going. It sounds like you got a little. I think you're old enough to be around when Kobe Bryant was around. God rest his
Yes.
soul, but but
Yes.
the Mamba mentality, if you will, and just that constant desire. I want to be better than you, no matter what the hell it is you're bringing to the table. I want to win. If I don't win, I'm not happy, and I want to get better each time and never settle. Job ain't finished. His famous line in the playoffs. I think he had one more win to go, and the guy asked him, why aren't you happy? Job ain't finished. Job's not
Yeah.
finished. And as for you, Dylan, job's not finished, man.
Yeah.
Great season thus far. Congratulations on your success. Again, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate the conversation. Chris, anything else before we say goodbye to our friend Dylan here?
No, Dylan, just best of luck, brother, and bring the city championship home to Staten Island. Prove me right, please. At least get a run to the city championship, so I sound smart.
There
But
you
I
go.
think you guys are gonna be right in the mix. I have nothing to worry about, so it's all good.
Thank you guys for having me. We should be in it next week.
Yes,
Get
sir.
after
Best
it,
of luck,
baby.
Dylan.
All goes according to plan. It's a new
Yes, sir.
season.
Ti Timely hitting, my friend. Keep doing what you're doing behind the plate, leading the team, being a leader, not just on the field but off the field. Again, great responses, great conversation that we just had to get a good representation of the Staten Island. So, best of luck the rest of the way, my friend. Bring it home.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
Geez, Chris, another one, another great guy.
Just good people, man. I think we pick them right, Todd. Tough Media has a knack of picking the right kids. Not only the kids that are really good when it comes to stats and
Yeah,
home runs and throwing runners out and throwing fast and running fast, but just good overall kids. And I got to compliment the culture of Staten Island. Like we
yeah,
talked about a few weeks ago, it was kind of in a dark place about a decade ago.
sure.
Even at times when, I'm in the recruiting world and on the road at certain showcases, coaches were kind of hesitant to recruit from Staten Island. It's no longer the case. I think the culture has done a phenomenal job of healing. I think we are now creeping to the top of the list of a lot of college coaches, and it's kids like Dylan,
Yeah,
and DePetro, and the list goes on that are changing
for
that for
sure.
Staten Island. So keep up that leadership as you talk about, Todd, which is a really important thing as a young kid.
Yeah, and so cool to hear him recognize the role too, Chris. And you kind of alluded to it. You said it in the previews, and it kind of said you said in this interview too. Is he recognized the role, and then he talks about, well, I'm going to go out there when the infield is struggling. I'm going to tell him, all right, guys, let's slow the game down. We know what we're doing, and for him to have that presence of mind now, just so promising for a future for him, which then therefore is a promising future for the team, right? And that's why I had mentioned he's going to be looking forward to going back next year or in 2 years. This is going to be a very competitive ball club still, Chris. This Lion Club, I mean, we always say it every year it is, but boy, they're already developing some freshmen and sophomores already to be some studs, man. So they could win it this year, and they have a chance of winning again next year.
They're right in the mix, Todd. It's similar to what we had at Tottenville, where every year you knew you were going to be at the top. Did you
Yeah,
win it every year? No, we didn't win it every
no,
year, right? But we knew
right,
that we could be part of the culture chasing that
sure,
trophy. And, that's what Coach Mulligan has created. So when kids like Dylan
awesome,
jump on the ship, it's right there for them to grasp. But, obviously you have to go
yeah,
out and play the game and get the bunt down and, hit behind the runner and steal bases
all
and
that.
throw strikes. But
That's
they
right.
know as a Farrell Lion, there's a shot.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's we could go on and on about the great guys like Dylan, everyone we've had thus far, and even from CSI as well. So, but I'm appreciative of you. Oh, this is what I was saying. Hold on, 3, 2, 1. Well, I gotta say, I love doing this with Chris, so I appreciate your time as well. This has been a great experience to get to know these young men, and that's what they are, young men going on to college. I mean, obviously, he said he is committed. He's got to get us championship. So good luck to Dylan and Farrell. And Chris, appreciate the time, and we appreciate you watching as always. This is the Tough Talk Podcast. That's Chris Reyes, Team USA Baseball, Tough Media, and I'm Todd Bavona. Be sure to stay tuned for some great island-wide baseball. PSAL, CHAN, the teams are doing awesome. It's crunch time, end of the season, playoff time, championship time. Stay tuned. We'll update you just like we have all season long on how the teams are doing. Also, CSI, great job. We appreciate you, Coach Mike Morrow and friends. Congratulations. All right. Have a good night, guys. Chris, take care. We'll see you next time.
Night, Todd.